Hey everyone, I'm Joe. Today it's time for me to do my monthly wrap up for November 2019. I can't believe that we've already nearly finished the entire year. Time really does fly sometimes. Anyway, November was a really good reading month. In total I read a mere 7 books, which is lower than some months, but the quality is always what I'm looking for, not the quantity. The 7 books in question comprise 5 different authors over 2 genres, and I'll talk about the first 3 straight away, very quickly, because I've already reviewed them, and that is the Empire Trilogy, written by Raymond Feist and Janny Wurts. The trilogy is comprised of Daughter of the Empire, which is the finish to the 3, then Servant of the Empire, slightly fatter, then Mistress of the Empire, a lot fatter again. Now, these 3 books, other than the fact that because of their sheer physical size and weight, these affected what I read for nearly half of the month, because frankly it's physically tiring on my wrists and my elbows to read such big books. It did sort of slow me down in a way, but that's only a fairly mild thing, and I'm quite happy that it did, because I enjoyed this trilogy immensely. I did a separate review of this trilogy only last week, so frankly be talking about this trilogy too much now would be sort of pointless in any great depth anyway. But I will say it is a fantasy trilogy set in a feudal Japanese world with an immense and very deep set of characters, with an intricate political system in place. This is all about the political system and sort of, this game of council where various of the lords and the big name families within the empire, which is very large and extensive and complex, want to be sort of upper in the council, and they want to obviously make themselves more powerful and obviously take out certain of their rivals who have slighted them, using a system of honour and dignity and that sort of thing, which is interesting. Talks about both slavery and indeed gender and women's place in the world, which in this book is not very good. So it discusses that in an interesting manner, and overall this is a very good fantasy trilogy which I would highly recommend. The next book that I read was actually 2 books that feel very much like one book, and that is The Unreal and the Real, Volume 1 and Volume 2 by Ursula Le Guin. Now, Volume 1 is the general fiction and literary fiction short story collection. Volume 2 is the fantasy and science fiction short fiction collection. I buddy read these with Shannon, whose channel is That's So Po, a friend and fellow booktuber whose channel I will link below. I'm really glad that I read these with Shannon, because some of the stories, especially in the 2nd volume, I missed the point of in certain ways, and Shannon, because we was talking about it, she sort of pointed out what things the book was trying to say, and I was like, yes, that is actually the case. I had just missed it completely. I'm very glad that I've already read this with Shannon. I know she will have some interesting thoughts on these as well. Both of us did much better with Volume 2 than Volume 1. Volume 1 was general and literary fiction. This was, frankly, even though it's not a long book, a slog to get through, because I realised quite simply that with Ursula Le Guin, she's one of the big classic science fiction authors, although she does write in other genres. I only like her writing if it's in science fiction, pretty much. Almost anything else that she writes in any other genre, which includes fantasy, doesn't work for me as well. So Volume 1 is well written, because Le Guin is an extremely good writer. It tells its point effectively, and it has some interesting points to tell, but at some fundamental level the stories just don't click with me, and they didn't work with Shannon either, and they just sort of dragged on a bit, and they didn't make it an enjoyable read. And Shannon actually didn't finish reading this book because she had such a problematic time with it that she just couldn't finish the book. I only managed to, frankly, because it wasn't very long, so my reading speed is kind of high, so it didn't take me long to get through. But the first one wasn't the most enjoyable. The second was far more my sort of thing, because obviously this is fantasy and science fiction. Science fiction in particular, short stories worked extremely well for me. I liked them. I mean, quite a few of them were focused on aspects of the Hainish universe that she created in her other novels, like The Dispossessed, for instance, which she's extremely well known for, amongst several well known ones. These worked better. They were just as well written as Volume 1, but the science fiction and fantasy, that's my thing. I understand them. I understand what she's trying to say, how she's saying it works for me, and the themes of the stories. I found these to be more of a interesting, fun stories, or sometimes not as fun, because there's some of them had some remarkably dark overtones to them, but they were more enjoyable though than Volume 1, frankly. So I'd recommend either one of these, depending on what your preferences are overall, because they're both extremely good books, which I'm holding upside down. And if you like science fiction fantasy like me, you might prefer Volume 2. If you are more capable of and more willing to read general and literary fiction, Volume 1 might work for you as well. It didn't for me. The penultimate thing I'm going to talk about is New Spring, written by Robert Jordan. This is the prequel novel to the Wheel of Time series, which is a 14-book epic fantasy series. The Wheel of Time series is very current at the moment, because they are in the final stages of casting it for a television adaptation, I believe, unless it's a movie. No, I'm pretty sure it's TV. Anyway, this is about several of the characters before the main series actually starts, which has this epic overarching plotline, as epic fantasy it does by definition. I mean, it's epic in the title, so the epic overarching plotline matches. I like this. This is much shorter than almost all the other actual main Wheel of Time books. It was more to the point and sort of snappier writing. I actually really enjoyed this, and frankly this is probably one of the most enjoyable Wheel of Time novels I've read to date. Now, I do like the main Wheel of Time novels, but Robert Jordan does have a habit of drawing out events and situations, and to a point where I think, well, couldn't you just written that in a shorter manner and removed whole sections, because the characters are doing things almost for the point of doing them. They do seem a bit drawn out. This doesn't. It hasn't got room to do that. It's got a very particular focus, where it's showing the sort of origins of how two characters came to be sort of teamed up essentially in the main novels in an interesting manner. I'm not going to talk about the plot, because it's a prequel to a massive series, so it's complex. But suffice to say, if you like the Wheel of Time series, you will like this, and you'll probably maybe know more about this than I do, because I like the books. I'm not the biggest fan, but I'm glad I read it overall. And I buddy read this with Andrea, whose channel is Infinite Text. I'll leave a link to her channel below. We're talking about this as he's reading it, and I'm really glad that we are reading the whole series together, because it gives me the motivation to actually carry on with them, because it is a bit of a slog overall. Finally, the last book that I read was The Player of Games by Iain M. Banks. This is the second novel in the Culture universe. I am reading them in the published order, I believe, unless I am mistaken. Now, I'm going to be doing a separate review of this novel, and indeed I will be reviewing all 10 Culture novels, one after another, basically over the next so many months. So I'm not going to say too much about this now, but of course I will still say a bit, in case you are not interested in watching that review. My reviews on these books, whenever I do reviews like this, same as the Empire Trilogy, are nearly always spoiler free, as much as I'm physically able to do, because I don't like spoiling myself, so don't worry about that. Now, The Player of Games is an interesting novel. This is set much further along time frame wise than Consider Fleabirth, which I did a review of recently. I'll link that in the description box below as well. This is set over 800 years later, and indeed all the other Culture novels are set more around this time frame, because this is the Culture, which is a spacefaring human civilization has been highly developed in technology and has moved to the stars. They have met other civilizations and have gone to war with them or have made peace with them, as the case may be, and it varies greatly. The culture is a complex and intricate sort of civilization and system to talk about, because it has an unbelievably large amount of nuances, because you are talking about an entire culture and civilization that spans a galaxy. There's an awful lot to talk about in this. This is about one guy who gets to essentially play this very strange game. He's a player of games, obviously. He's considered one of the best games players in the culture, and he gets sort of asked and encouraged to go to this empire and play this massive sort of complex game where the stakes are the control of the entire empire. And this is an empire that the culture are not afraid of, but they want to know more about, let's say. And it's quite complex. It has some really intricate and amazing nuances, and I am going to enjoy viewing this. If you like science fiction and you want some extremely well written and intricate world building and indeed character development and such, then I would recommend Iain Banks and the Culture Novels, because so far he's doing 2 for 2 as far as books that I actually greatly enjoy goes. Anyway, with that said, that is it for all of the books that I've read this month. If you've read any of these books, or you would like to, or you have any recommendations based on these books that you think I might enjoy, because I'm always open for new authors and new genres or new ideas, then please leave a comment and we can have a talk. All my social media links, as well as the links to the people that I mentioned during this video, can be found in the description box below. And with that said, that is it for this video. So thank you for watching, and I'll see you in another day. Bye for now.